Hey Hank, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dan?
Good. Hey everyone, for those who are watching, Hank is a friend of mine who's a BI engineer at Amazon. And he has agreed to basically become a guest speaker for this new series that I'm starting, which is basically interviewing current professionals in the data science world and basically talking about their work experience, what are cool stuff that they work on, and how what were their interview prep processes way to get that role, right? And so we're gonna talk about a couple of interesting things. And so, first of all, Hank, like I want to start by asking you, can you, would you like to provide some story about yourself?
Sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Hank, and currently I'm working as a business intelligence engineer at Amazon within our D2AS org. So, which stands for Digital Device and Alexa Support Team. So, a high-level overview. My team is building self-service tooling to help the business holder measure the to bridge the product metric with the customer service metric, make sure the effectiveness of the product we launch in D2. So I'm primarily working with the product manager, data scientist to work on some product analytics, analyze the identify the opportunities in D2 space, and also work with our data engineer to build the ETL data pipelines because Amazon is such a huge company and the data is it's kind of messy. So we need to have like sort of maintainable and scalable data pipeline in place. And then prior to joining Amazon, I was working as a associate data scientist at Home Depot e-commerce team, where I was mainly responsible for their our data platforms that is a centralized place for data scientists to find reliable cost features on top of our clickstream data so that we can facilitate the model development in production. So yeah, that's pretty much like what I'm my background. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks for the really good overview. Pause real quick. Hank, just one word
Mhm.
of advice. When you're
Sure.
talking, look at the webcam, the camera, and don't look at the screen. Because
Oh, look
when you're
at the
looking at the
webcam.
screen, your eyes are like looking down, whereas when you're looking at the webcam, it makes it seem like you're actually looking at the audience. It makes things a lot more
Okay,
engaging.
so I should always look at the green
Yeah,
dots
exactly. Yeah, I
on my
know. It's a
screen,
little bit weird.
like
But
right
do you
now,
see the
right?
difference between, look, I'm looking at the screen right now versus I'm looking
Uh-huh.
at the webcam. I'm looking at you.
Oh, yeah, I
You know what
look
I
at
mean?
I'm looking down. I
Yeah,
look at
exactly, exactly, exactly.
my
Yeah.
nose. Okay, I will
All
try.
right. All
Okay,
right. All
cool,
right.
cool. So do you want me to introduce
No,
myself?
no, no. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay,
Okay.
cool,
Yeah.
cool.
I'm
I'll keep
gonna
that in
edit it, so
mind.
that's fine. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right. Wow, that's a really cool experience. So that's a really cool experience, Hank. So can you just share perhaps like one project that you worked on as a BI engineer at Amazon?
Mm-hmm. Sure, sure, sure. I can share one of the project I'm currently working on at customers experience space. So like a usual like a this is about like a launching a new algorithm and then as a BI job is to how do we really come up with the metrics and then build a data pipeline that can make sure the impact of the new algorithms moving forward. So it's actually a like a for example the user journey when they are having some troubleshooting issues on their, for example, on their digital service like Prime Video or their Amazon Music services, or they want a refund, they will go to the we call CS help page to find the contents that can answer their question before they actually generate a contact. So the goal is to we try to reduce the number of the contacts and then build more self-service contents that can like help customer resolve the issue themselves. So so we have the like a knowledge graph algorithms launch last year. So but like as but we don't really know like what kinds of metric we should measure the this initiative. So I work with our product managers and also the software and SDE to first to know identify the data sources, and then also I think um, one of the main job for BI is to really know what metric can evaluate the impact of the product, and it has to there's a lot of collaboration and conversation with the product manager. For example, this in order to make sure the knowledge graph algorithm, we need like a we need to know what the product is. So basically, it's the knowledge graph will surface the content within the answer box. So we can think about that as like a recommendation widget. So in that case, like some of the metrics, some of the company metric, we are using like a click-through rate. But we need to first know how to get an impression, how to get a click data, and how do I calculate the click-through rate and the conversion rate. We don't really use conversion rate, but we make sure this product based on whether we can reduce the contact rate. So contact rate will be something similar to conversion rate. But my point is that we need to have this business acumen when we work with product manager so that we can identify the most meaningful metrics to make sure the effectiveness of the product. Yeah. Does that make
Got it.
sense?
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. So,
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit more about who are the immediate team members you work with? So it seems like you kind of mentioned like you work with some engineering managers,
Mm-hmm.
and also just can you also kind of talk about what kind of stakeholders you work with in your
Mm-hmm.
day-to-day projects as well?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So in terms of like what kinds of stakeholders I working closely with, I think there are two. For example, we have digital and device business team. So I'm primarily supporting the digital service team that they are working on digital service support like Prime Video, Alexa, or like Luna, which is our gaming service, and Amazon Music, and all the other like a digital business unit. So I'm primarily working with a product manager from digital support team, and also working with a software engineer who support this product. So at Amazon, we like a software engineer and product manager and BIE kind of like a embedded in a specific product, but we also have another teams that like a for example my team is called D2S product analytics team. Like each BIE will support different business unit, but we can still like share knowledge with each other. So when we build out a dashboard or reporting, so yeah, that's how kind of like how we collaborate with our stakeholders at Amazon.
Got it. Got it. That's really cool. Um, so it seems to me that there's quite a bit of sort of like data pipeline that's being built, along with
Mm-hmm.
some like building out metrics and dashboard. Are there any other type of technical work that you're also delivering for your stakeholders?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So, I can talk about another like a technical project I was working on because the project I was just talk about is more like a product analytics dashboard or reporting initiative. But our teams also work on some of the abuse mechanisms like how do we really identify the bad actors. So I'm also working with our data scientists to first of all, how do we really how do we really make a strike a balance between identify the abusive content and but not at the expense of adding friction to a legitimate customer. So it's basically this can be treated as a machine learning problem. We have classification model in productions, but what's more important is not on the modeling part. It's more on the how do we do the feature engineering, for example, like a customer attributes, what other features we can leverage, like like a based on their prior purchase behavior. We also have like a cluster scores that like a we can see like how similar what the similarity score between this individual account to the existing
Yeah,
fraudulent cluster.
yeah,
So there's a lot of like a feature engineering going on before we really
got
like
it.
a work on the modeling. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that's really cool because I have a similar experience like that when I worked at a startup slash PayPal as a
Yeah.
fraud data scientist. So we worked with a lot of like the knowledge graph base. So we worked with
Yeah.
like all these different PIIs of like the device ID, email addresses,
Yeah.
username, IP address,
Mm-hmm.
latitude, longitude, and the list goes on, right? Like there's like tens of
Yeah.
thousands of signals like that. And then you can kind of plot them in this like graph of all these different
Yeah.
entities. And I would say like it was really cool to see like, oh, okay, this IP address has been banned because of credit card fraud, and it's linked to this email address which was recently opened,
Yeah.
right? And so by that
Yeah.
association, should we flag this email address as a fraudulent one, right? So it
Yeah.
seems like Amazon's also doing something similar like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
Cool.
cool.
Yeah.
So Hank, I would definitely love to kind of talk a little bit more about like the interview experience, because
Mm-hmm.
for those who are watching this video, a lot of them seek datainterview.com as a way to kind of prep up for data scientists and like BI engineer and those sort of interview process. And so I'd love to kind of learn a little bit more about what was your overall experience as a interview experience as a BI engineer at Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. I can definitely share some my experience when I was in the when I went through the Amazon interview. For I think like for those who want to apply for Amazon, you must be very familiar with what we call leadership principle. So basically, is for example, we
The
have like
14th
customer.
Commandment of Amazon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
thou shalt
like
not
a
kill.
yeah.
It's
So
kidding. Yeah.
yeah, I think that at that time I tried to like a my first of all I actually create like a spreadsheet with each of the individual principal and try to link my prior experience uh to to the principal and try to come up not try to tell the stories that you can that your interviewers know. Yeah, you really take the owner. It can reflect your ownership, or it's really working backward from the customers. Like it doesn't have to. Uh, you don't have to like create like a 14 or like a 16 different stories. But one, if
Yeah.
you can tell the interviewer one story reflect a couple of the principle, I think that can really set you apart from candidates. And then
Got
for
it.
the BI, yeah, for BI role, we also assess evaluate the SQL capability. So SQL is extremely important. If you want to get into the BI, you will community. Yeah.
Got it. And on the leadership principle, so for those who are not too familiar with this, and I can definitely drop like in the description and below the YouTube video, I can list like what the 14 leadership principles are for those who are interested. But what is like one of those leadership principles that people need to know?
I think I think I think the most important is the first one is on the list, like a customer obsessions. I think we cared about that because Amazon strive to be the most customer centric company around the world. So we cared about customer. Everything should start with customer experience and then working backward. What are customer pain points? And then how can we enhance the customer experience using the data we have or using the data science approaches. I think I will say like customer obsession is one of the most important leadership principle. Yeah, I would say
Got it, got it. And I've and so I it's really interesting because I do think that like a lot of the online platforms, I mean even Google for instance, one of their
Yeah,
mantra is like respect the user in a sense. So
yeah,
so it's really interesting to see a lot of similarity on that. But I
yeah.
know that there are many people who are probably prepping up for like the data roles within Amazon. They're definitely trying to cram the leadership principles. And I'm sure many are sort of struggling in terms of how do you actually frame a story given for each of the principle. So could you just perhaps just give an illustration of like what that story looks like? Like how is a question asked and how do you respond to a question like that? So let's
Mm-hmm.
just
Sure.
say customer obsession.
Yeah. Sure. So, I can give some example. So the interviewer will probably don't ask you like give me your example like reflect customer obsession, but they will ask you something like can you tell me a time when you work on when you can you give me a time when you work on some analysis that can solve customers' problems or like what kinds of problem you're trying to solve and then what is the impact. So that will reflect like whether you have this mindset, you are not building the like a data solution or like building a model for the sake of building model,
Yeah,
but you start with the pinpoint of the customer and then like a working backward. So and also in terms of the framing, I will highly recommend I think that's called like a STAR framework. Like what's the situation, and then what's the task you have done, and then what is the action you have taken, and then what's the result. So with this framework, it can like help you to organize your thoughts, and then the interviewer will easily to follow your story along the way. So definitely check out what Star Framework is. Would be
got it, got it.
extremely helpful. Yeah,
Okay, that's really cool. That's a really cool technique, the framework that you're using.
yeah,
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend, those who are watching this video, like, definitely use that framework as a way to approach these type of, behavioral questions. In fact, I actually use STAR framework in a lot of my interviews as well, including the one at Google, because there
yeah,
was a behavioral round where, they were asking me questions about like how do you manage stakeholder, like well, how do
yeah,
you provide a really good experience for them,
yeah,
and I just want to sort of mention this that you know, even though like not all of the data scientists or any sort of other data professions may have worked with like customers, as in like online platforms such as Amazon.com, right?
mm-hmm,
I think in that case, what you could also think about are the direct stakeholders that you work with, whether they're business clients or whether they
yeah,
are government clients. How do you actually engage them in a way where it's meaningful, it's impactful, overall it's a good experience. So if you can kind of think about what that experience is and relate that to the customer obsession part, I think that's a really good way to kind of approach this type of question.
yeah. You're right. I think like customer does we don't have to like limit the customer to like an end user, but like all the stakeholders you are supporting is also your customer. So like if you can tell a story about how did you manage stakeholder, how did you support them, and then what's value you bring to the table. I think that's definitely set you apart from other candidates. Yeah,
Got it. Got it. All right.
yeah.
So I'd like to kind of go back to the just overall sort of understanding the interview process at Amazon. So besides the leadership principles, SQL, like, are there any other areas that candidates should definitely prepare for?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So, I think another aspect the interviewer will evaluate on would be the business acumen. So, what I mean by business acumen is that um, when you um, when you are like solving the business problems, usually it is there's a lot of like ambiguity or there's the definition of metrics are vague. How did you really start from do like a top-down analysis? How do you know how did you try to align what we're trying to do with the data look like, and then propose some of the data solution. For example, if you are going to present some metric to your managers, what would that be? What kinds of business goal you are trying to solve, and then how did you really turn that into the queries or other like a data solution? So I think that's also important. So yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And as we sort of wrap up the interview prep section, the one last question I have is,
Mhm.
what are some general tips you like to provide for candidates who are currently on track to, for the BI engineer interview?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So I think there are two advice I can share. First is the communication. So I think I'm an international student, so English is not my first language. But like if you can try to like a frame your answers or your story in a very organized way, or like a propose some numbers, I think that can definitely using some framework that would definitely helpful. And then secondly, as a BI engineer, part of the work will involve like a data engineering. So it's great that you have some data engineering experience. For example, data warehouse, modern data warehousing. How did you build the ETL data pipelines? What does ETL stand for? And I think this will definitely be helpful because at Amazon, even though we have data engineering team, but now you need to like speak their language so that you can collaborate with them more closely. And then like a lot of time was spent on how to really collect the data, clean the data, processing the data. So like having a great knowledge about data engineering, I think it's very critical. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Great. Well, thank you for those tips. I'm sure candidates will find them very helpful. Okay. So, Hank, I really appreciate your time in coming on board as a guest. I'm sure viewers will really appreciate the all the insights that you provided. Um, and so, just moving forward, how can candidates reach out to you? Is there like a LinkedIn account that people can connect with?
Yeah, sure. I can definitely share my LinkedIn profile. I don't know, is there at the
Yeah,
bottom
I
or
will.
something?
Yeah,
But
yeah, I will actually do.
yeah,
I think I will just actually just provide in the YouTube description for those who
okay, yeah, that'd be great. Or
those
you can just type Hank Low Amazon. I think that's a three keyword you can find me on LinkedIn. Hank
Right.
Low Amazon. Yeah, so happy to connect, and then feel free to shoot me any message if you have any questions about working at Amazon as BIE. Yeah,
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you so much.
no problem. Thanks, Dan. Pleasure is mine.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.